4.2 Part B is graphing cosecant, secant, tangent, and cotangent functions. Number 1. Graph y equals 3 cosecant x, 2x from 0 to 2 pi. We know cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So let's go ahead and change it to sine first. And we've had this already before. So what is this 3 in front? That is your a. Period is 2 pi over b. b is 2. Divide, cancel, pi. And then you divide your period by 4. Your period is pi. You divide that by 4. So you're going to count by pi over 4. Okay. Go ahead and make your graph. Counting by pi over 4. 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4 is pi. My a is 3. Remember, you are going to label everything on your x-axis and your y-axis. Let me just change that. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is sine. So sine, we start at 0, up 3, 0, down 3, 0. Make your sine graph. But we're graphing up to 2 pi. So we're going to continue on the x-axis. So what's after 4, 4? 5, 4, 6, 4, 7, 4, 8, 4 is 2 pi. So continue the sine graph. So we go back up 3, 0, down 3, 0. Okay. Now we're going to do the reciprocal, which is cosecant. Now, you cannot get the reciprocal of 0. The reciprocal of 0, don't think of it as 1 over 0. That is undefined. You cannot get the reciprocal of 0. So look where the 0 is at on your x-axis. So we have a 0 right here. These are the ones that are zeros, the one that I'm highlighting in purple. You can't get the reciprocal of the 0, so this is what's called an asymptote. It's going to get closer and closer to it, but won't touch it. So go ahead and draw asymptotes at the zeros, including the y-axis. Okay, and when you do the reciprocal, in between the two asymptotes are parabolas. So the final answer is we're going to flip it over. So I'm going to go ahead and color code that in red. Okay, so this is your final answer, the one in red. So we're doing parabolas in between the two asymptotes. Make sure it passes on the 3 or the -3. And that's your answer. But don't forget, you're going to always label your x and your y-axis. That is for number 1. So recapping, you have to change cosecant into sine and graph sine how we normally graphed it. And then you divide your period by 4. That's how you're counting by. But we're going to graph up to 2 pi because we have this domain here, up to 2 pi. And then continue the graph, so it's going to look like a wave. Anytime you have a 0 on the x-axis, those are your asymptotes, so we're going to make a dashed line through it. In between the two asymptotes are your parabolas. Number 2. Number 2, y equals -2 secant 1/3 x. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so let's change the problem into a cosine problem. A is -2, period, 2 pi over b. b is 1/3. Now, we don't have a fraction over a fraction, so 2 pi times the reciprocal is 6 pi. Then you divide your period by 4. So 6 pi divide 4, reduce, so 3 pi over 2. So we are going to count by 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2, what's after that? 6 pi over 2, which is 3 pi. 3, 6, 9 pi over 2. 3, 6, 9, 12 pi over 2 is 6 pi. Your A is -2. Okay, so we're going to graph cosine first. Since A is negative, we're going to start from the bottom. -2, 0, up to 0, down 2. Okay, where are your asymptotes? Your asymptotes are where the zeros are at. You have a 0 here and here at 3 pi over 2 and 9 pi over 2. So we're going to draw a dashed line over it. And now we're going to graph the reciprocal. Okay, so before the first asymptote, you have this, it goes up. So when you do the reciprocal, it's going to go down. And then in between the two asymptotes is your parabola. But I'm going to stop here. Why? Because of your domain. We're going to stop at 3 pi. So in between, it'll be a full parabola. But because we're graphing up to 3 pi, it's just only half of that parabola. So the final answer is the one in red. Number 3, y equals tangent 2x. Now with tangent and cotangent, we have no amplitude. And the period is pi over b instead of 2 pi over b. So it has its own formula. It has different formulas. And then we are going to divide the period by 2, not by 4. Not like sines and cosines, we divide by 4. But tangent and cotangent, we divide by 2. Okay, let's begin. Since there's no a, we go straight to period. Formula is pi over b. b is 2. And then you divide your period by 2. So pi over 2 divide 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 1 over 2. So pi over 4. So we're going to count by pi over 4. And we're going to stop at pi because we need to graph up to pi. So 1 pi over 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4 is pi. We're going to stop at pi. Now your asymptotes are where you have odd labels on the x-axis. So it's on the first one. Okay, let me color code that. It's on the first, on the third, and so on. It's on the odd labels, first, third, fifth, and so on. Now with tangent graphs, we start at 0, we go up. In between the two asymptotes, down, pass through, pi over 2, up, down, up. And then down, stop at pi. Make sure you have arrows at the end of your graphs. And that's the tangent graph. Number 4. Y equals cotangent 3x. Again, there's no a, so we go straight to period. Pi over b, b is 3. You divide your period by 2. Pi over 3 divide 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/2. So we're going to count by pi over 4. 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4, which is pi. Now, in tangent, the asymptotes were at the odds. Right here. Asymptotes were on the odd label. So where do you think cotangent would be in? It would be on the even labels. Okay, so let me go ahead and color code that. It'll be on the second and on the fourth. Now let's look at tangent again. Look at in between the two asymptotes. We went down, up, down, up. So for cotangent, between the two asymptotes, it'll be up, down. Up, down. Make sure it passes at pi over 4. Up, down. Make sure it passes at 3 pi over 4. And that's the lesson. Now, hypothetical. What if you were given negative cotangent x? So how would the graph look like? So let's say this is my asymptotes on the second and on the fourth. So negative cotangent would be the opposite of positive cotangent. It'll be down, up. So it'll look like tangent. And likewise, if you're given negative tangent, how would it look like? It'll look like cotangent. 2, 3, 4. Your asymptotes are on the odds. So it'll be down. We're going to do opposite of number 3, and then it'll be up, down, up, stop, if it was negative tangent. I hope that's clear. If you have any questions, email me. Thank you.